The beginning of my novel, Mr. Jack Blackley, the Jacques series. Learning about Jacques, there is an insurgent of Russian descent working in the lab. Now the laboratory is a brain lab and houses one of the continuations of life containments. In this, the insurgent double-crossing the lab, going to start his own lab, a mini version, stealing from work, finding out about the land walker Jacques. In this, he sets out to find his location in the Sutherland Shire and contacts through his men to abduct Jacques from a house party that he's going to. At this party, Jacques is going to have his drink spiked and they'll be dragging him up the street. He starts to lose consciousness, where it's said we'll take him home. It looks like he can't handle his liquor. As he's going unconscious, they say we'll take him. Looks like he can't handle his liquor. Taking Jacques back to the lab, hooking him into their continuation of life machine, Mr. Jack Blackley, finding out, sends a unit over to Heathcote via Heathcote Road out of Anzac in Western Sydney, meeting up there around the same time as the land van is taking Jacques away, where in this they go upon the computer signal sender on sender, slowly going further and further away inland. Getting the number plates of the van on a brake check near Waterfall into a complete pull-up integrated on board. Now, some of that you probably thought none of that makes sense, but Jacques has been part of the lab the whole time. And this is just another job file into the Russian insurgent to how he was abducted and how he was abducting people. In the lab, Mr. Jack Blackley looks after Jacques, and it's because he started so young. With the lab, we needed education. So for his first job file, Mr. Jack Blackley made it very real to explain it all to Jacques in one foul swoop. So you were hit by a car, right? Left critically injured? Not much left for life in this for you? You were brought into the lab. Detail Jacques upon educations, friends, girls, experience, the only way Jacques knows. Jacques fully aware, understanding a little bit like an induction into the job site he has been to. He says, "What's next?" said Jacques. Mr. Jack Blackley replying, "This is where I show you the unstoppable." Jacques quite amazed and falls into happiness. The first job file. First job file is moving into a property in the Snow Mountains and finding the attention of a sexy girl, the daughter into a death cult tribe that is located in her name, Sarah. In that now Sarah is deaf, so Auslan sign is used, which he had learned in school, is coming into use. Time goes by, it's all working like clockwork. Mr. Jack Blackley makes contact. I've sent 6 packages. They look like kitchen assistive fire extinguishers. I want you to go out and hand them around at Christmas to all of the members of the tribe in their community. It's got listening devices inside and trackers. It goes into it where they use it to find out about their drug manufacturing and for furthermore. Jacques says, "No problemo." It's a little bit like before. Computers are linked digitally. It's a little bit before computers are linked digitally. So computer on computer LAN sender is being used. It's very hard to find out what people are looking up or loading onto the computer. Now, where they go into these resources is where a man working in that, an electrical engineer, from Brimstone Collieries in Cordo to Picton, who has been working that and selling off the computer-on-computer land system which he had learned from the collieries to the bikies. And it goes back to the death cult tribes of Australia. Now they're a little bit like a church, but they were so developed into drugs and all the rest of it that they were developing the drugs for the bikies and themselves for cash and whatever the bikies want. As it goes, selling the illegals, sales back through the world where they wanted to collect the order of many and send the drugs via mail post in the early 80s, sending the drugs out in the early 80s. As their church grew, it mixed back into the Jehovah's Witnesses for the tax reliefs from businesses into washing dirty money to make more money. As it goes on with the computer on computer, they were intercepting it and using it for other people to what they would look up and intercept there for furtherments, especially on new inventive. Time goes past and Mr. Jack Buckley's had enough. Infantry workers with the other military members to do a full arrest, locking Coomber into full military lockdown, curfew, no unessential moving, no understandable essential travel, only essential travel, no visiting friends, etc. as it's a full lockdown. Army guards patrol the streets as they take it in that and take the death cult members prisoners and seize all of their drugs, closing down their operations in the snowy mountains. As it goes into the next job file, federal undercover, playing possum, understanding, laying around a job on policing. In this, Jacques is waking up to the shops. In this, he has begun a new containment as Mr. Jack Buckley pushes Jacques into the test to see if he's capable of becoming more himself, or as Mr. Jack Buckley and the lab workers watch upon him to make sure he's making room to further himself, looking over it to see how it's all going. Remember, as he walks up the street, Jacques is stopped and picked up by a police officer. Into the car, mate, she says. Into the car, mate. Going for a drive. Remember Sarah in that from the earlier job file with the death cult? Now her brother, Darren, how much do you know about him? Jacques says, he smokes weed, he drives, he does his stuff in the bush. I'm pretty sure he's into it, growing it for him in the bush. Driving very deep and slowing back into that, driving into the bush. Worried she gets bogged, comes in sideways in the track, right up on Darren's camp, where we can smell the ripe raw cannabis. In that the undercover job is taking down the cannabis of Lyndon. Or not Lyndon, Darren I meant. We come together, Jacques jumping out and fixing up the bushes back, making the way out, back to town with relief they found it. In saying this, there's one more going back to the station as she's a call to the army for a land patrol, a type of unit that covers through the thick bush for the organised crime. Following the drugs, police, army officers and cadets show through the bush, finding all the way plant the death cult bikers and associates will end them to take out the actual cannabis crops that they were growing in that where it didn't make sense into the first job file to where it does make sense. Now the police officer's name's Amanda. As Jacques and Amanda have done the job on the crop, now it's time to see where it grows, where it goes, where the crop goes. As the war on drugs continues, as it's mixed up into Middle Eastern, lives there in a big meeting. It's all a secret surveillance as it goes into it. As it goes in to get these Middle Easterns' faces and all the rest of it, they have their meetings at their big rallies like Hizbat Tahrir. And they're meeting where it's very hard to get their faces, all that like at Lakemba Mosque, because they just love the hashish. But with this job files and what's written before, it's very hard for them to get that much hashish in that cannabis for how many of them there are. So the death cult and the bikies were doing them a real big solid trade deal, if you can work out what I'm talking about. As it goes into that, Mr. Jack Blackley, we're going to need photos and faces. So it goes into that we literally put together and faked rallies against the Middle Eastern organised crime syndicates, the cannabis, to follow the cannabis, in that starting up a racist the Reclaim Australia rallies and the Patriot movement, to find out the actual Muslims' faces, as we would have counter protests and get them to come out raging, but in that surveillance at the same time, in that killing two birds at the same time, in that saying that they are still bad is what we can imagine. As that we get the photos. And that's how the first job file in the undercover works, is Mr. Jack Blackley's TV series. It goes into the first one where it starts off. It goes into cannabis and how the Middle Eastern have the cannabis. Now this job file, the second job file, this is like chapter 2 of the book, Ravenhawk. Jacques, wake up. You're all set to go to the next zone. In this, you'll be going to rave parties. Now what they are doing, they're implanting people. They're destroying perfectly good lives to get music and keep it fresh, where it keeps them playing, and sort of like from the implants they put into them, it sort of works like the AI technology, in that a remote service onto the actual system from that person, from the rave party, from what I'm talking about. As it goes into it, Jacques dropping in, working in the apartment where he lives. He shows his building's already unplugged by the team to see if he hears the whole procedure, in the fact to be taken to the city to a nightclub. A friend of a friend, Drew, to say, I'll buy you your drinks, Jacques, because what they're doing, they roofie you from your drinks. So Drew's like, I'll get you your drink, Jacques. So it's just blacking out from this, from being spiked, from taking the drink at the inner city nightclub, in that an underground rave. He wakes back up on the same lounge that he was sitting at to receive the drink. As it's almost closing time, he starts to hear the music starting to turn down, and the visuals of the club, they start to light the club up. He's unaware that is a simulation or is it real. As he panics, running out of the club into the city to sober up, he's freaking out in the lab. His heart's racing, and he's starting to extract fear, making his way off, extracting the fear element from a chemical extraction as well. Different chemical compounds upon chemical science from the Brain Research Institution. As it goes into it, he panics at the nightclub, freaks out of his mind and starts running for it. He tries to hitchhike to Queensland. Starts making his way back from Queensland, and he's had a phone call. He made a phone call to his ex-girlfriend, and she says, I'll meet you at the hospital, where she says she just wants to take the baby. And then she's like, gets him to the hospital and says, oh mate, he's psychotic. There's something wrong with him. He's totally mental, but he's just been implanted in the club in their full little mixology of how they're working it in this little fictional story. And it goes into it where they take him into the actual hospital, and on his first night in the hospital, he's trying to actually escape, and he's trying as best as he can. And what happens is he gets implanted through the night, right? He gets implanted as he's sleeping, implanted through the night in the wrist like an RFID chip. But the thing is, after he gets implanted, he wakes up and he's freaking out. And he goes up to the emergency door and he breaks off the top seal. And there's a red wire that links up the actual power lock. And he chops the red wire, and it unlocks the fire door. And he breaks the fire door open. And he races outside and he steals a car. And it says, in what I've written down, he's taken the car to the rally track. As he's been implanted, he thinks it's an optical, so he's going to give it a red hot go for a mad drive. He's taken it to the rally track where him and his mates had plenty of cars. And he's powering down this track at 120 kilometers an hour, hitting the jumps, airborne, loving it. Understanding the implant from the club is recording, so he's getting excited, showing off in a way, absolutely losing it into a telegraph pole. He's pumped like a rage machine. As he's in this stolen car, he loses control of it into a telegraph pole. Like a rage machine, he jumps out of the car, he's caving the roof in, he's smashing the windows as it goes in for furthermore. Near blows it up. His mate's holding him back saying, calm down. They say stay in the night, so the lab decides when he sleeps they'll make the switch back on. This is where it goes out of his actual demographic of the dream within the actual brain research lab, because it's a fictional story like based in the lab, and he's actually on a module of a fictional look back. And this is where Mr. Jack Blackley, because he's so pumped up, like Jacques is so pumped up in that, Mr. Jack Blackley's like worked out a way to slowly wake him up when he goes to sleep. And it says, waking Jacques up the next day, he's a little dazed in the lab over at Westmead Private. He's going down to the cafeteria. Mr. Jack Blackley congratulates him. Jacques, you've done a great job on another chapter. Showing him the video look back, quite impressive, of the vehicle driving with the jumps and all the rest of it. Now this one's into the understandings of boosting cars. Now this is where it goes. Back in Sydney, he's located in the inner west. He's in a new job file is to become known for boosting cars. He's taken the Asian markets where the sports games and been turning up to create it out of people's brains from the BMI to get implanted for these. In that taking on another implant job, this one's actually out of the lab where he's staying on the inner west and started boosting cars. And from that, he's got implanted to go into the Chinese markets to where they make the sports games, the cheap versions and all the rest of it, and make up the mixes of the musics and the audios. And he goes into it boosting cars every day, sometimes 2 cars a day. And like that, he gets the attention of the people making the sports games. From the questionables, living in a share house, it's an easy job. They stake out Jacques' place. In this, it looks like blacks. Back to the Asians, so they front him. Hey nigga, what's up? As he's tranquilizes and shot in the neck. He's shot in the back with a tranquilizer and then abducted. This is an actual one where he's out of the lab. He does a remote job to catch his organised crime members in their actual community in that Chinatown. Abducted into that, Mr. Jack Blackley follows Jacques' signal all the way back to Market City Apartments. As Jacques' life is now jeopardized, Mr. Jack Blackley intercepts the show, catching them red-handed, implanting the BMI as they were decoding complex brain signals with their highly sophisticated high-resolution recorder as it went onto the computer to be edited onto a new video game or some kind of entertainment. Having his skull cut open for that, needing to go back to the lab, but as Tyler's do a great job for removing undesirables out of Australia and making the world safer. Now back in the lab, Jacques is recovering, and he's talking with Mr. Jack Blackley, saying how he was blacked out and had his skull cut open and was about to die. As Mr. Jack Blackley explains, you can't die, you're already in the lab. Jacques joking, I didn't mean for real. The stories you can keep in your memories. In that, Jacques couldn't tell the difference if he was in the lab or if he was actually doing the real job file. But it was an actual real job file, in that Mr. Jack Blackley said he was already in the lab because he's got part connecting to the lab, but land walkers that go out where he does the job remotely. It's sort of a little bit like Avatar. If you're familiar with Avatar, it's not very new. It's not like adventurous like Nunu, but it's my own Australian version of shits and giggles, stuff to listen to about hear me chin wag. When do you ever get to hear me chin wag, eh? Yakety yak. Now this one, Jacques takes on the job of correctional officer. The correctional officer one. Into the next adventure, Jacques relocated into that, a correctional officer, a guard, where Jacques is in the jail, locked up, working in the devil arts, in the jail hospital, working in the devil arts with some of the other people, some of the other inmates, and breaks the synapse of receivership of the guards, using the other inmates to power himself up with others using dark spells as they start on the guards. It's not long until Jacques and the other inmates are walking out of the front doors of the actual hospital jail. It's where they escape, seeing around that they see an art shop. They escape, but they see an art shop, and the art shop is stumped on that, and they see their own art piece of the price tag, $3,500. Now that's a lot of money on their art. As it comes down to it, is they were told their art was garbage and they just put it aside and it goes into the bin, or their actual art, like their artworks or say designs or new products or things they're thinking about, handwritten letters and new inventors designs. The guards are telling them it's all worthless garbage, just throw it in the bin. But the guards are literally stealing it away, and when the actual inmates get out of the jail into the community, they literally see it, and this is what starts to happen. They say they can't believe their eyes. Now the guard's to blame for this shit. They track him down at his home and kill him in a psychotic rage, kicking his face in. They have witnessed to kill the guard and how he escaped the jail. Mr. Jack Blackley waking Jacques up out of this mess, telling him it's all finished. What a great job. As Jacques was that excited in there, with that psychotic rage of being in the jail, in the psych, going through the actual imprisonment in the episode of how it works, to be in there, and then break out to see his stuff being used, like his wheel design, his universal fit pants, clothes fasteners, see it all being used, and his artworks in that, like his vandalism art from say street styles, has been pushed into the marketplace, skitters out and kills the guard. It's hectic, bruh. Comes in packing with a whole heap of crew. Now Mr. Jack Blackley wakes him up. He's like, Sharks, geez, you done a great job. Let's go down the cafeteria and get a coffee. Now the members walk in and see this and begin to chat. I remember seeing you from the party back when it all first started. Now the party job where they roofied him. Not the one in the nightclub, the one before that. To where they had to follow the land van. Now there's I played many roles along in your life with Mr. Jack Blackley growing up as Jacques grows up in the lab in this whole thing by himself. And it goes into it where he's first turned up as a child. And it says the cafeteria, same thing, fresh air. And now they're saying to him, if you want to learn how to drive, you should go through some of the my old modules. Like that time I intercepted the van where you go first taking it, he said, and then you went back on it. Anyway, I need to move. I have to go back to my room. Jacques not worried now, working more and more out as one of the people in charge comes over and wants to talk with him. Jacques, we take it you are understanding this operation and why and how. Jacques replies, yes, from when I was young. And the man saying, Jacques, you can do anything. Go do anything you want. All you have to do is do the job files to keep up your position. You can grow and advance in so many ways. Soon enough, you'll have a new role in that, like a boss position, like Mr. Jack Blackley, from doing the actual episodes, gets to get into R&R, as it's like a military set situation, and be able to do whatever he wants in that, have free roam and the experience knowledge, so he's not a dweeb who would flake out when he goes to give it a go. Now this episode, this is the one of the chapters he has to do another job file, the Meatworks Horror. Now there's an opportunity, Mr. Jack Blackley says, one of you, we're sending you out of the lab, in that he explains in the cafeteria, and we're sending you to a man's house where he's been doing some very bad stuff. And he says, you want in? Day one, things you need to know moving into this place, says Greg. Jacques, I'm an alcoholic, he says. I'm fine with that, Jacques says. Second night, the man comes in drunk and stupor. Tell you Jacques that works in the delivery industry. As the man, he works in the delivery industry and how he's going to sell. He sees the TV shows for online delivery. Oh yeah, that's right. The Greg dude says that he can see the actual, the person's life being developed onto his TV screen, and he kills them and he puts them into the meat delivery van and puts them into the restaurants around us in the cities and up along the coast, as he's a delivery driver and he gets to take the van home half filled so he can do the deliveries in the morning because it's a chill van, like with an ice box on the back. And he takes him, this is what happens, he takes him down in the car park, and it's like it smells funny in the car park. It smells septic, like from a deep wound that Jacques had before, septic flesh. The septic fat unsealed, like day 15 of septic pussy flesh, as it's got a unique smell to it, a little bit different than say dog shit and perfume and being fresh, or like human flesh smells a little bit different, as Jacques is aware of it from his injuries. Anyway, he's there, he's been in there, he's done the surveillance on it, and Jacques goes into it, he's taken back to the lab, recovered from the upgrades. As it comes into it, Jacques says, Greg, you're under arrest for attempted murder of myself and the murders you've done before. You're fucking up, mate. We found the corpses you've been putting into the meat with the body parts in your fucking shed downstairs in the underground car park. We know that you've been putting it in your delivery van for work. Greg goes into a psychotic rage. He says he's a savant. Greg informs you where he explains what. Go tell the doctors in jail, Greg, how you think that the body killing people makes the entertainment on your television, mate. Go tell the psychologist in the jail, it says. Ooh-wee. That was a good job file. It goes for a while. I'm just going back through it now to sort of branch it to practice where I want to get to with an audible but a visual with different bits. Now this job file, another chapter, multiple mixed in that the murders of Malik, in that based in the Snow Mountains. Murders of Malik, based in the music, selling drugs, murder a man in the arrest sometime. Mitchell works in the supermarket as a manager. Mr. Jack Blackley to Jacques says, "Hey Jacques, lying in his room, cleaner position at the supermarket where the bloke works you in." And he goes, "New role, you're the janitor at the supermarket, living in rural Australia. You're our drop." "Yes," says Jacques. "Yes, I'll do it." Starting his role in the supermarket, travelling out into the new town, manager says, "You into music, mate?" "Yeah," he replies, "I'm having a party. Come over if you're free, okay?" He's like, "Yeah, why not? Think about it." Manager kills one of the mafia men's sons. So there's a lot of hostility to the manager. See what happened? The manager, the guy who's into the music, he killed one of the mafia dude's sons in their drugs and all that stuff. So there's a lot of hostility. Some real bad stuff's going down. Going into the party, Jacques leaves early. The mafia turn up, dragging Michael out, taking him to Mullick Street to their makeshift lab, a little bit like the Russian insurgent, but better. Unconscious, Michael's head is cut off. Look back to find out the information. He's definitely killed the mob's son. He's doing this. Mr. Jack Blackley and the task force unit move in, breaking up the little engagement. See, what happens is Jacques had to be in there to see him get taken at the party because they found out. It's like Cold Case in the way that it works as well. It's like Cold Case in that the television show, to be able to do the old job files, to go back and find the pieces of the puzzle you need. Breaking up the engagement. "He's killed our brother. Tell it in court," he says. As Jacques stays up to the supermarket the next day, he walks to the drastic scene where Michael's brother is working and the mob turn up. Now there's a cardboard compactor in the supermarket and the mob throw him in, closing the door. And he's ground up through the compactor, the grinding wheels closing down the supermarket as the mobs were seen. All the family for the brother. As Jacques goes to match the face details of the mob, he's unable to because of the mask they were wearing and the fact he was in the car park picking up garbage and only saw the back of the bloke's Mercedes, which Jacques told was burned out on the highway. See, it was come down to Jacques to identify the mob members, but Jacques couldn't identify them because it come down to it, they're wearing face masks, and he only saw the back of their Mercedes, which got burned out on the highway, in that from where they took Michael's brother and threw him into the cardboard compactor of the supermarket and ground him up. Oh. As it come down to the vendetta from the mob. Anyway, Jacques is leaving the supermarket. He's back to the lab with Mr. Jack Blackley as they're ready for the newspaper, the whole wrap-up and the video. As it comes down to it, the video of it. As he gets to sit back into, say, a resting situation like I am now in a lounge and be able to watch the actual job file that he did, similar to watching it if it was an actual television show made out of, say, some studio in Australia. Now, the nursing home nightmares, this is the next job file. As the team find out about the nursing home that is closing and replacing the residents for cash. They're replacing the residents for cash to clean up on them. The syndicates in Croatia, the world of co-ops. As Mr. Jack Blackley sees this, decides and sets up that there'll be operations of the location. Briefly, Jacques on the situation of the Croatian nursing home, where it's located to them to be already situated up on the 84-year-old man named Bert. As Bert is taken to the nurse, Mr. Jack Blackley is prepared for an outbreak from them to run tracking surrounding the building. Neighbours' properties. As Bert is in the first night, he's taken and dragged in his bed with taken to be converted in serum works to the most. Jacques shakes off his first man. Where they're gonna de-skin old Bert in the nursing home horror. This is where they literally like de-skin, like peeling him off the inners of his skin to peel his old skin off and make a fake person to collect in on the cash. And it goes into it where the Eco Ear Talk piece, radios Mr. Jack Blackley move in, made for the induction. The inflection. Mr. Jack Blackley says, hold tight, using the first nurse that walks through the door as a body shield, rub the back doubled arm bar, walking her out of the operating room. As he gets him in the operating room, confronted by the D-Don, what's going on here? Guards, as she screams into the walkie-talkie. Not today, it squawks. Back, Mr. Jack Blackley and the team are on the other end of the walkie-talkie, already taking out the guards. The team and Mr. Jack Blackley rolling in. The unit members blacked very exit. He thought they would try to run arresting all like an absolute piece of entertainment. Jacques very excited as a team collects as the information, spending days into the aftermath, cleaning up on the fine details. Mr. Jack Blackley says maybe we were too late for the ones before, but guarantee this shit will never happen again. 35 members of the Croatian military in Australia living in the nursing home. Oh, that's right. In the nursing home, they were replacing them to collect the money, but they were really insurgents, where they all lived in the nursing home within the skin of them, but could come in and out like a wetsuit, in a full seal over wetsuit, and have the actual understandings that it comes into it. And they had de-skinned the old people that said they were signing up to the nursing home and coming into it, and 35 members of their military that came into Australia living in the nursing home, fully situated as the residents whom had been there before. Very safe to say, Jacques never happen again. Back to the lab, Mr. Jack Blackley and the team very happy with the outcome. Now you'd have to be very happy with the outcome of taking down an actual underground militant, an underground military hiding in the nursing home within the actual skins of the old people, which they had de-skinned and kept on them in some kind of playwright of the entertainment. Now this one's called Totem Bait. Totem Bait. Mr. Jack Blackley showing Jacques the caseload in detail. A man, a man named Tim, building himself up in the lab, and Mr. Jack believes signs to Jacques and says, "Will you be joining Tim to the module upon his crimes? You will end up as a victim as a module begins to introducing Jacques into Tim's world to make it like he's part of it. His inner circle based upon that, in that totem bait. Based within King's Cross around the brothel, burlesque houses, and the massage parlours, Tim has been stealing away other people's fire, as he's led to believe in in Waterfall. Jacques drives fast is heard to regret. Tim using the bait the night into the night city plans to have Jacques jeopardised, thinking that that's right. Totem bait. As it goes in this one, sorry about the rough copy. This is all I've got. I've got to practice. As it goes into it, Jacques has come into it, and a person by the name of Tim knows Jacques has been driving, and he wants to set him up, but he's tried to be going into the nightclubs, and in that the brothels and the massage parlours and working with the street girls, in that to jeopardise Jacques, taking him into the city one time, and what he wants to do, he wants to switch his actual mental impairment, which his actual relative has, onto Jacques. In that, push it onto Jacques, the mental impairment onto Jacques, and make it full signed, sealed, and delivered. Bada bing, bada bang. That it'll be forever. And he gets the drugs onto him. He's been paid. Engine check the world. The night at King's Cross, he goes in there, and they're all like, yeah, come with us, man, you'll be fine. And he gives him some drugs, and he drugs him out the back of this club, and then takes him into the actual club to the implant and gets him implant from some Vietnamese surgeon in a backwards health lab, making sports games again. They're all about these sports games, I found out, and the ability to mix music in some clubs, like some of the songs out there, the big ones that are coming out, to think they're so seclusive on the way that they play it out, but they're just absolutely trash, Houso style. So he's roofied him, total blackout, gets all of it, the entrapment. At the same time, Jacques is recording all of it, so he doesn't even have to be conscious to the fact. Sort of like having a camera bolted to, like a GoPro camera connected to his head in the way of it. It's a pretty good situation. Goes into it where Jacques is in the lab and looks back on a Tim as it goes into the person is not taken there. Procedures usually leaves with the dead. Waking back up, very lucky that it was already implanted, otherwise dead for sure. As for Tim, the manager says he fucked him. Total totem. Rolling his tongue. Homeless celebrity. Rolled him this is why it's called totem. They rolled him from his actual life where he lives within it, in a life, but has a totem on to where he's like on the street as some kind of guitar playing psycho on the cross, but it's really Timmy D. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. From trying to roofie him at this club in the cross and all the rest of it, to trying to stuff his life up just for a bit of driving and selfishness as some punk kid who wasn't grown up from some spastic school and all the rest of it. So yeah, hooked him up as total celebrity. He lives one alternate life onto the next. Now he's homeless on the street, hooked up to the module, and he goes down every time back up. He tries to fight it, but gets bombushked Like bumbushkas. You know bumbushka, the little bumbushka dolls? They bumbushked him. That's what I call a totem. Because he thinks he's some kind of celebrity from it in the way that they play it out. He goes into their laboratory. As it comes out of that, he just goes back into the laboratory from it. He gets him as a bumbushka, the totem pole, the totem like person on person as it gets bigger and bigger. Like next thing he's so big, you just think that guy's the biggest guy you ever seen. But there's like 10 layers in there before you get to the first one. As it comes down to it, Mr. Jack Blackley's so happy he's starting to tell jokes about it. Now this one, the psycho lab worker, a spine tingling in the lab. Mr. Jack Blackley, unaware of the chaos Jacques has caused through the laboratory, people scared through that, confused for furthermore of Jacques, set up an alliance to kill him. It works out. They are laying like wolves on the sheep. Jacques working in this, bleeding at some of the lab workers, stirring them up. But in this, Mr. Jack Blackley worked in the big fire without Jacques, holds him unaccountable as they go against him. One lab worker, Derek, fighting against him, saying he's going down, as Jacques bleats at him like a sheep to a wolf. He's become, Jacques says, run at me. As Derek is teamed up with the workers and secretly to fuck Jacques up. It's the game Jacques knows all too well. Planting, listening and video surveillance in the laboratory, Jacques is already prepared. Like Mr. Jack Blackley, and that's stepping into like a Mr. Jack Blackley position, showing boss, to come into it like a boss on an actual mad lab worker. People who got jealous, like when I got given certain things, people get jealous, like family get jealous and all that. As the lab gets jealous, as it comes into it, oh, that's hectic. As Derek is recorded for the team unit, proof his craziness, Jacques fights to ensure beyond reasonable evidence in the lab. As he's trying to say, Jacques is doing this, Jacques is one thing, he's unaccountable for that, he's mentally deficient of the mind on that, he's uncooperative on this, he doesn't obey on that, as obey. As it comes to it, as Derek's recorded with all that, as Jacques takes it back into the evidence to the lab. Jacques lazing around, drinking a few days after, all alone. Oh, that's hectic. Derek says, in a few short words, or Jacques with a few short words, hasta la vista, arsehole, to Derek's face. Yeah, sure, like he was God. Jacques from kicks him in the soup, in the salt. Derek started to fear and screams. Derek runs from Jacques. Jacques' legs kicks Derek as he cowers. Jacques' right downward hook into the neck, followed by a left forward knee into the nose as he cries stop. Jacques says, I won't be responsible for your death, assuring Derek on his own understandings. Shirt tearing his body, laughing at him and tearing his shirt off him and hog ties him with his own shirt. In that, Derek is the mad lab worker who's tried to stir everything up and turn everyone against Jacques in the lab with Mr. Jack Blackley, as Mr. Jack Blackley is like taken into hiatus. It's all got to be part of the setup, mate, to see if he could actually stand into a boss position. I'm telling you. Unit team approaches, what the fuck? Jacques' reply, psychotic lab worker, disabled the unit team last 4 bases, referring the records and the video confirmed, says Jacques. Mr. Jack Blackley working with Jacques in the lab. Jacques says, was that a test? Mr. Jack Blackley, you've passed. Jacques, that was a simulation. That was a simulation. You're still within your room. That whole thing was just a simulation. The psychotic lab worker, all of it. Just a simulation. All of it. Mr. Jack Blackley just is like, you've passed. Now this is where Jacques has passed his actual passings, and he gets to go to R&R, into rest and recovery in Fort Sharksworth. As Mr. Jack Blackley says, you've worked so hard, it's time for R&R, rest and recovery. Mr. Jack Blackley, there's a place we recover when we make it, and the team unit need to recover. Jacques says, I'm a team member, like excited. Mr. Jack Blackley, you're welcome. You're welcome to it. Jacques super happy with himself. A sigh of relief. Mr. Jack Blackley, you're off to the Fort Sharksworth. Enjoy. The craziest part of the whole Mr. Jack Blackley is understanding how Jacques is in the laboratory constructing the life that he lives, in that doing cold cases, and sometimes being able to go out of the laboratory with different land walkers to do mad jobs on certain crimes or organised crime syndicates or different sort of hectic job files that regular police just don't do. Like regular police right now are pretty much at the train station checking for train tickets and sniffer dogs for people peddling little pathetic weights on drug, maybe carrying a pocket knife. Not the kind of job files that Mr. Jack Blackley has Jacques doing. So that's pretty much it. Nearly an hour. Well, nearly an hour on that. That's a lot better than 2 hours and 45 minutes of the first one in that I showed off. That didn't work real well. Now, this one's rough as guts, but I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on it like sign. I'm going to understand it real well. I tell you, 53 minutes. If you stayed on or you even listened to it or you got some of it. Oh, and I got glasses because I'm a bit short-sighted now. Getting old, I've got a bit of grey hair and now got glasses. Oh. Anyway, peace. Thanks very much for enjoying yourselves.